Doug is dead.
No, what?
Sorry, guys.
Wait a minute.
I'm doing renovation in my apartment. I had to sleep here last night.
But you do it every night. You're always here.
Yeah, it's been going on a few years.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week on Lemonade Stand. This week, we were going to have Ludwig, who is currently shitting,
Who quit?
and vomiting, and is quitting YouTube. That's what.
We quit our episode of the show.
Coincidentally, Ludwig doesn't show up on the same day they released the Epstein files.
It's interesting. It's
just
interesting.
so
that
interesting. Like,
happens.
he was locked in for the show, and then this big release happens.
It's
and
like,
all of a sudden-
guys, I'm throwing up.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make.
You hear the
any
lawyers
sense.
in the background. You hear like it's just like a lot of.
The cameras, they weren't on when I was throwing up, but it definitely did happen.
It happened.
It just feels like a suspicious spree of YouTubers quitting. We have Ludwig not showing up to this episode. We have Doug dropping his main channel, and we have Schlatt dropping his main channel, all at the same time that the files go out. And it just feels like, there's a lot of redacted pictures
What's
of people.
under the black box? it's YouTube.
I don't need to think about this too much. Why don't we? What else is going on?
It's interesting. You want to speed it up. You want to speed it up so
Guys,
bad for some
let's
reason.
wrap this episode
That's
up.
right.
All right, we've been going for a while.
No, but it is a big deal. Doug, you put out a big video yesterday why you're quitting your main channel. And I think people are going to want to know a little bit what's going on. And maybe we talk about a broader discussion of what's going on with YouTubers in general. Because you're not the only one doing this. It's like a trend happening right now. Tommy Innit quit yesterday. Maybe for the 5th time.
Yeah.
But it's happening. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe for people who haven't seen your video, do you want to give a quick synopsis, like just to catch everybody up on what's going on?
Yeah, the quick version is I have been doing my main YouTube channel, DougDoug, for 7 years. And that has been a particular type of format that I sort of honed and developed back in 2018. And then in 2019, when the channel took off, like that's what I've been trying to do ever since, which is a very story-driven, narrative kind of driven, challenge-based content, which fortunately, worked really great back then. It took several years for that to finally work, but then it did. And then I've been going nonstop ever since. And it is really stressful to do this. We'll give the obvious caveat that this is not like the hardest job in the world. It's not physically dangerous or physically exhausting in the same way. But this job of YouTube and creative grind has a level of, there's no separation at all between work and not work at all. What you've done by doing one of these jobs is take your hobbies and convert them into work. You also are in an industry that is demanding an endless churn of additional stuff that is sort of leaving you behind at all times if you are either one, not making things, or two, are making things that don't hit whatever the current algorithm and trends are. And you are blasted with these numbers on a day-to-day basis. And generally, with creativity, I mean, my opinion is still, the harder you work, generally, the better you do. But there isn't an end point to it. You don't have a schedule like with a movie or a TV show where you work for this period and then the project is done. There's no constraints. It's just endless.
You post on that for a while and then
And everything is telling you all the time, go forever. And that is extraordinarily draining. It is, I mentioned this in my video, but I've done very stressful jobs where it's like you have to show up and work for this client 14 hours a day at BlizzCon, and it's chaos and there's millions of dollars on the line. And that's really stressful in a defined period. And that's very different from being in a state where literally for 7 years, I have never really turned my brain off. I don't know if you guys have had the same thing, but I mean, particularly you, where you're doing it full time, but you don't go on vacation really. You're thinking about content. Even when I'm on vacation, I'm thinking about how I should be reading things or playing a game that might be relevant to content, or watching YouTube about content, or if I'm enjoying a video game or YouTube or anything, I'm inevitably thinking about how it might tie into work. There's no separation, and everything in this ecosystem, YouTube, Twitch, all these numbers are just telling you nonstop, you're shrinking, you're dying unless you're working hard. It is falling apart. Everybody else is growing bigger than you. Go, 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 go. And it's extraordinarily fucking draining. So for me personally, I've hit a point after 7 years where I want to stop doing that particular grind, with the obvious note that I'm very lucky to be able to do this in the first place, because now I have the financial freedom. And also this podcast is helpful as well. It's like another sort of backstop. But really, the podcast is actually not almost at all the incentive behind this. This has been building over time.
More work, honestly.
It just made everything harder. It's just, but I should be clear, like this, this show is not the reason that I'm making this decision really at all. It just accelerated it a little bit.
Sure.
Maybe I would have extended this decision into 2026, but that's my personal experience.
A couple things jumped out to me. I mean, one thing you said about the algorithm is really echoed in what Schlatt said in his.
Yeah. So Jay Schlatt also quit, and while he is pretty inconsistent, I've really pushed myself to make as much stuff as I possibly can at all times. Even the periods where I'm not making things, I am working on things in the background. I think that's actually true of Schlatt, despite him posting once every 6 months.
He made a lot. No, but I think it was more than once in 6 months. He had decently regular video updates on that side channel.
So not only that, I talked to friends of his. I'm not personally
made big projects.
Close with Schlatt, but like I've talked with close friends of his, and apparently, despite his output not being consistent and seeming like he's not doing anything, and there's a big joke of like, oh, rent is due whenever he actually uploads. Apparently, he is working on projects all the time, but has felt such immense pressure. And he talked about this on his retirement video about whether a new video is going to reach the same success as a previous one, that pressure basically just destroyed him mentally and stopped him from making things. So according to people who are close with him, for every project he actually releases, there's like 10 that he's worked on that just isn't happy. He's not happy enough with it to actually put it out.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that across the board from YouTubers, they all have the same feeling about the out of 10 marker.
That was a big part of his video. It was like when you have a 1 out of 10, you get the confetti, and it's like this dopamine rush.
Let me show it.
For those that don't understand, so when you upload a YouTube video, what YouTube does they've been doing this for this feature's been available for at least 5 years now, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't always there. But when you upload a video, your video for the time it is uploaded compares its views and performance and retention against your previous 9 videos. So it falls into a ranking where maybe it's a 5 out of 10, maybe it's a 10 out of 10. And that is just showing how many views it has compared to your previous ones. And it is the main talked about metric in this sphere of career about the success of your project
all the time. They're always talking about out of 10 of their
and from the people that I've gotten to know over the years, whether it be Ludwig or you guys, or I've had some conversations with Schlatt, or I've had conversations with Ted Nivison about it. It is the mental breaker for some people. Because I think what happens a lot of the time, and to an extent, I've felt it for the first time this year with this show, where for the yard, I never really checked that metric of success directly, but I've been more attentive to it this year when we're releasing this show. And I think a podcast is a little different because you have a weekly cadence of how you release it. But for other YouTubers, because I think there's a part of me that is aware of people listening to this who are YouTubers complaining about their careers, right? And I totally understand that. I think there's just an important spectrum of how people work on projects on YouTube, right? There's a type of and style of channel that is, I would say, lower effort. There are types of YouTube channels that maybe pump out things really quickly. They don't put as much creative effort or thought into those into each individual video, and the turnaround is easier, the effort is easier. But then on the other end, which I would consider Doug on, where you're spending maybe weeks or a month or more in preparation with staff of the building of the idea outside of the video itself so you can execute on the day, the broader narrative of the video, the editing. So when you see channels that take weeks or months between their uploads, it's because there's a ton of work that goes into that effort. And with a channel like yours that doesn't have a fixed format or narrative between each video, you're often experimenting or trying to do something a little new. The idea has to be its own individual thing that can stand on its own each time you upload, right? So from a YouTuber's perspective, when they spend maybe weeks or months on that one project, or sometimes longer than that, some people work on things for a year, and then you upload it, and then it's a stinky 8 or 9 out of 10. It's this shattering of your personal identity to a degree. That's how people describe it. It is such a hit to feel this idea of like, I dumped all this like time and energy and like my soul into this project and it didn't pan out. And I'm sure that's a relatable feeling for many people. It happens in so many other forms outside of YouTube, right? You preparing maybe for a performance or a project at work and it's supposed to lead to a raise, or you have like a piano recital that you've like prepped years for, or you're finally trying to apply for a program.
Yeah, I
you're
think
trying
the
to
difference
get
with
into.
those is that they don't give you a number. They don't give you, it's not algorithmic, or it's not like they score it. That's the YouTube one is every time you have a underperforming video, you will know directly.
Yeah, here's for people who are watching, if you pull my thing up, Perry. So this is what it looks like on Lemonade Stand. We posted a clip yesterday from Chris Broad and us talking with him in Japan, ranking by views, 10 out of 10. The views, there's a big arrow down. Average percentage views, it's okay, but the likes are down. Every single time you post anything, this pops up on YouTube.
Chris, make him feel bad about it.
This is the main thing you are shown when you open YouTube. You cannot close this. Every time you upload anything, it is telling you this did better or worse. And they make a big fucking deal about it. And it's crazy. By contrast, here's mine yesterday. Wow, looking good. This video's ranking by views 2 out of 10. Earlier yesterday, it was a 1 out of 10 and confetti shot on the screen. And I'm like, oh, wow, YouTube, cool. I'll retire more often. This is helpful feedback.
I like how the confetti's the best part. Schlatt in his video was like, the confetti's evil.
Dude, it's so funny because I was like,
you
when I was
can't
watching
turn
this video,
shit off. I don't want to know this.
I was like, I don't relate with this at all. I love the confetti.
You probably love it. Like,
you're a demon, dude.
I love
You're
the
a demon.
confetti, bro. It makes me smile. It makes my day better.
I think what's tough is maybe you guys agree or don't, but having had a very normal job, I would say not that long ago, the difference between like not meeting a performance at my old job versus having a stinky 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 on Lemonade Stand for me is the product just isn't personal at the old job. It's like, if I'm not meeting like the KPI or the performance marker or whatever, it's like, it's kind of like whatever. I work at this company and I tried my best and like things didn't work out. And, but so there's this, with this, it feels like kind of a personal attack. It's like, I have failed. Like some part of my being has failed and it is translating into this low ranking.
Yeah.
And it eats at you. And I wonder, for a lot of other people, I think the reasons they quit, I briefly talked to Ludwig about this before he said he was going to come on this episode. And he basically boiled it down to, people get maybe a level of stress with the output like this, that they want to break from it. Other people just reach a certain like monetary goal or financial goal that they're like, this is it. I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. And then other people, I feel like they just reach a natural like phase out where their channel just isn't popular anymore. They don't have a way to like keep outputting something that a bunch of people watch and the career doesn't work out. So they just have to quit. And it falls into these like three buckets.
That was Ludwig's analysis of the ways it can go.
Yeah, he boiled it down into like a 2-sentence, like you either like hate it or you're bored of it or you've made too much money and then you walk.
Right.
Like, and that was his like very short synthesis.
I think there's also an element to this that my read, because I've been kind of looking at different creators, and the ones who go for long periods of time tend to just do a series. They show up and they do a consistent thing, right? The Let's Players, even though Let's Plays have kind of like dropped off, they show up and they're doing well. Northern Line is phenomenally successful.
The first person I was thinking of.
Yeah, and like
he's got a system.
He's got a system. He shows up and he plays games and talks over them, and that's it. People just want to hear him talk
It's a
over stuff.
defined period of time. It's not forever. And he was very guarded of like many vacations a year, time with family. I don't stream outside of these hours. I don't stream on weekends or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he has made it into a job that is as close to a regular job as can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he outputs so much. He doesn't care about the numbers on his YouTube. Like he puts out whatever. Librarian takes care. So he's solved a lot of these mental problems.
So that consistency, I think, is a big difference between somebody who gets really burnt out. And you see this on Twitch. Like many people have been streaming for 10 years, and they're the people who just show up and play video games every day. By comparison, someone like I don't know, Kai Cenat, who's showing up and doing like these crazy produced things every like 2 or 3 weeks. That's a very different type of creative job. And I think that
I imagine he's going to be pretty burnt out by the time he's like 27.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Absolutely.
He's only been doing it for a couple of years, really.
I mean, the people who show up and play video games every day, if they manage to keep the viewers somehow over that period of time, I think that also falls into the camp of you're turning around something that is inherently less stressful than the upper end of like creativity you can have on the platform.
Yeah, so here's what I'd say. That I think what people maybe don't see the difference sometimes between somebody like Northern Lion who shows up and plays video games and talks, and that's the creative output, and he's phenomenally talented at that, right?
He's very good at that.
But what I do, or Schlatt does, or Tommy in it, or Tom Scott, or Matt Pat, or all the people, you're trying to create a new thing every single time you put out a video. It can't just be the next part of the previous series. Really, you have to write new jokes. You have to write something conceptually that is interesting, because that's what YouTube, if you're focused on YouTube specifically, rewards. It does not reward putting the same thing out over and over. You can, at most, if you have an idea, you do a few more series of it, but they plummet really quickly. So you are expected every time you put something out for it to be new and feel new and exciting, while also being not so dissimilar from your previous stuff that people don't show up and participate in it. There's this entropy where if you do the same thing or something that's too similar, you see your channel and views going down. And again, YouTube blasts that at you and lets you know that you are declining. And you have to do something that is fundamentally different, which means you never feel secure. And then on top of that, your boss is a robot. You show up every week and you put your stuff to a robot who then says at the end of the month, nah, fuck you. I don't want to give you much money or attention. Your career is potentially threatened now. Maybe you're just going to start plummeting and blah, blah, blah. Whereas other people have a human boss who there's some degree of knowledge about what they're doing.
I think, yeah, I do agree with that. I think there's the other end of it where specific like static formats can last a long time. Like part of Schlatt's issue was his mainstay is like these like TikTok React videos that he
like your room is crazy.
Your room is crazy.
But even those, like that series, so he experiments with different things, right? He found that format. That format works. But then over time, those start to drop pretty precipitously. So you can land on a format, like I've done that with like Twitch Plays, but you have a limited shelf life before you now need to attempt to find a new thing. And then because of how creativity works, you don't know what's going to work. So you have to try as many new, interesting things as possible all the time. And then YouTube fucking blasts you in the ass when one of them doesn't land.
Yeah, I think that's the part that he seemed to be struggling with, right? Is like he was trying to he really wanted to break away from that stuff creatively because from having personal conversations with him, he hated making that stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it was the success behind the viewership of his channel in a lot of ways, right? But every time he tried to break the mold and spend a long time investing in some other type of project that is way different than watching, it would do worse than those.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What? This makes me feel awful." I did want to ask you guys something maybe personal because for Ludwig, I think part of the motivation that keeps him going after such a long time is he has created like an apparatus and a company around him where a lot of other people are dependent on him, and that contributes greatly to his motivation. So the fact that he employs a bunch of people and they have healthcare and they have an office they go into and a sense of community, all of these things matter to him, and it's a reason for him to keep going and working hard. And he talks about that. And turning that switch off it means that one day, also everybody I employ at my company, or almost everybody I employ at my company, is not going to have a job anymore.
Right.
And I need to like make a decision as to when that transition happens. And, he's very forward about like how many years he expects to like keep doing things. But I was wondering on both of your guys' end, as people who employ people because of your work, is that like a big factor in like how long you want to keep going, or like what maybe kept you from like for instance, you're about to take a break for a bit, and then you just announced this. So how does the situations of other people that work on your channels contribute to you making these sorts of decisions?
It's been a big part of it this year. It wasn't so much before, but I think with this year, it's not even solely about their jobs. It's about that we, at the beginning of the year, all made a commitment to hit every day. We made this thing. And so they're all in on it. They're like crunching to make the videos happen.
This is Big A, right?
This is Big A.
Specifically. How many people are involved with Big A specifically?
I mean, there's 2 editors and me is like the main team, but there's like people that help with research. There's there's other editors that jump in when we need a crunch. So it's like probably 5, 6 people that are around. But all these people, like early on, committed to this idea. And sometimes they've had to make sacrifices to do it. And so when it's time for my turn to make a sacrifice, like I feel like shit that day and don't want to do it, I feel like I can't be the one to break this streak. I'm not going to be the one.
You were finding ways to cram in content in Japan.
Yeah.
When we're theoretically on vacation, just give people, we would literally be in the Trash Taste studio doing a podcast, and then we would wrap up. And the Trash Taste guys are about to record their own podcast. And you were like, C-Dog, can I borrow your computer to record a clip? And you, while we are all hanging out with the Trash Taste guys,
they're having fun.
Catching up, we're having fun. 10 feet away in the corner, Brandon is recording clips.
It was funny because you were reading through the research material before making the clip in the corner of the room, just silently scrolling.
This is in Japan. We're on vacation. Right after like 2 hours. And we went out drinking until like 2 a.m. And then you're wasted and you're like, Connor, can I go to your apartment tomorrow and record clips? And he was like, well, I'm leaving for a flight. You'd have to come at 6 a.m. And you were like, that's fine. So you're like,
dude, I showed up so, not hungover, just felt like absolute shit. He let me in the door. He's like, all right, I'm leaving. Go record. And I was like, all right. And then I fell on his couch and fell asleep for 3 hours. And then woke up and recorded. Yeah. But that's because, same thing. Because I know that Adish is the big example, but like I know that he is stayed up fucking late sometimes to make sure we hit the midnight deadline, and he's done work on it. And so it's like, you got to break before me. Like, I'm not going to be the one that stops the streak at the end. We're getting near the end here, and it's getting very annoying. Like, I'm running out of stuff that I want to say this year. I want to break and
you're
think
a
about
podcaster. You got takes. Come on.
But I use them on this show too. We've talked about this. Like, this is a big problem for me is like, I think you mentioned it where you said, when you have downtime, like I better read something. So that is what my life feels like right now, where I feel like I'm constantly trying to consume things so I have things to talk about.
Yes.
And that's fine. And that's it. I did this because I like to do that anyway, but it is hitting because of the podcast plus Big A.
Yeah.
There's only so many damn things that I'm going to have a strong opinion on that I want to talk about. And I'm hitting the limit, and it's like the engine stalling out right there near the end of the year. And I just want to take a fucking break and read a book for fun and you know what I'm saying? And
I think you summarized it really well in your video, which was this idea of because you're the guy, you're making the video, you're in charge of everything. Every free moment could be another moment that you're working to make the thing better, because you could put a little more time into it.
Right.
You could put a little more thought into it. It could be, and so
there's never a list of things you check and now the thing is creatively perfect.
Yeah.
It's only ever an infinite thing you could do better.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. Like, I think some people, listen, these jobs are, especially at the level of success we hit, are really good, and they're awesome.
Unbelievably fortunate.
It's lucky and fortunate, right?
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth this discussion because we're in a world where if you polled, especially young people, on what their number one job would be, it is this job. And that is right now, every poll or study is like, it's past astronaut and fireman. I'm like, whatever. And so I think it's worth a candid discussion of what the downs, like what are the perils and stresses of it. I think that's why this is a worthwhile discussion to have. Even if you are sitting there and you're like, my job fucking sucks. What are you talking about? Don't complain. I can understand that. And I've had, I worked jobs that at the end of it, I really hated my job at Twitch. And there's parts of my time at NVIDIA that I was like extremely stressed and didn't like it either. But I don't go, oh, now I have this job and it's so easy. There is some parts of this job that fucking suck. And I think it's worth talking about. And I think it's easy to pretend like they don't exist and be like, we're so lucky. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion because there are parts that,
I'll be totally honest. I think like there's a very big difference from being a YouTuber to being like a podcaster. Like
this is way easier.
Dude, I'll be totally candid. This is way easier. And making The Yard compared to being somebody like Doug making that style of YouTube video is significantly easier. Doing The Yard itself is very easy. It is incredibly easy.
Speak for yourself. So I'm doing a lot of research, a lot of prep.
Yeah. And I think I think maybe that's the asterisk is like, I don't know if people know what they're asking for when they say they want to chase that. But I think that goes a lot of ways, right? Like I had this dream when I was a teenager. My goal was to work in esports. I wanted to make video game events. I thought that would be the coolest thing ever. I went to MLG Anaheim 2013. I saw 20,000 people packed in a room watching League of Legends and StarCraft. And I was like, dude, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. This is what I want to do. And then every decision in my life was towards the goal of working in esports from there. And then eventually I got there, like very, very early, to be honest. And I got into the world of what running esports events was actually like. And I was like, damn, this is not that. This shit sucks.
It sucks so
this
much
shit
ass.
sucks, dude.
Everybody who gets into it. I've personally had calls with a number of people or like friends who are like, hey, can you talk to my brother? Like he wants to get into esports. Can you talk to this friend? And I'm like, look, man, just so you know, it fucking sucks once you're in there.
If you are listening to this podcast,
all
hoping to work
four
in
of us
esports,
have been part of it. It sucks balls, dude.
and
it's a whole industry that runs on people that love video games so much that they can grind them down till they hate it. That's it's just an endless churn of people that love competition and love video games, and they just fucking mash them.
One feeling that I really resolved from that trip through esports, like getting to this point of like, oh, I have the job I told myself I always wanted, and now I'm not enjoying it anymore. I realized that chasing like aspirations or rose-tinted versions of careers is so much less fruitful than making changes in your life that are about like quality of life. It's way better. Imagine so many jobs like boil down to like tech or spreadsheets that you're using on a computer, right? And the end output a lot of the time is very disconnected. Like in the case of esports, your love of gaming is very disconnected from the spreadsheet and emails that you're filling out.
You're just filling out.
And I was like, oh, I could just be doing this for something else or some other type of company.
Make more money, work less hours, and then game at home.
Exactly. That allows me to improve other parts of my life outside of work. I should start making decisions based on that. And I feel like that was like a life-changing revelation that helped me move in like a better direction.
I disagree. My mental health has been not prioritized in any way, shape, or form the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade this for anything. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think the experience is worth it. First off, I only got to the position where now I can, in theory, again, retire. For people who don't know, I'm still going to make videos on a second channel. I'm going to stream when I feel like it. It's just going to be much, much looser. But like, even if I had to fully quit now, like I would do it again. I want to have accomplished things and contributed to industries and creative projects that I'm passionate about. And that to me is worth it. It can't be forever. And I think that's maybe what the average person doesn't realize. It feels like almost every YouTuber is burning the rope at both ends. And you are like rapidly moving towards this ability to just not emotionally be able to do it anymore. But maybe because I'm a workaholic, of the mindset of like, I would fucking do it again. I liked working in esports. It was miserable and so hard and not good for me in many ways. And I'm really proud to have done those things and gotten through it and have the experience to look back and know I did it. And I learned what I did and don't like. I don't know. I would rather try than be safe.
I agree with that part. I don't think I regret the experiences. I think it's important to still chase those things and like learn from them.
Okay, this ties to a question then that I wanted to ask both you guys, because one of the things I'm excited about with AI is that I think it's going to offer many, many more people the ability to be entrepreneurs, start a business, do whatever, because I think AI tools are going to pull away at many of the friction of starting a business or whatnot.
Yeah.
And we can get into that later with our later conversation. But not only because of that, also because of everything else we've talked about with the economy changing, it feels like everything is moving towards gig work and people being their own business owner. And while that's really cool in a lot of ways, I am concerned increasingly that that's going to put every person on earth into this position where you just need to work endlessly because you don't have an employer, you don't have some degree of safety, you don't have a consistent thing you can show up. You are trying to grind and make your way and establish something all day, every day, forever. And I really would not wish that on all of the populace. I think I enjoy that for periods of time. But I'm concerned about the average person who's forced into gig work or forced into self-employment needing to be in this grind without a decision.
I think that I feel like it's kind of a false offering because it gives you so much autonomy to do the work, ignoring all of the other downsides of it. You feel a sense of guilt for your own failure or like economic position that I do not think is fair to the circumstances of that job or why you were forced to take that job. And it's kind of this false promise because you're not really a business owner. You don't have any of the upside. You have none of the upside except maybe kind of the scheduling part of what it would mean to own a business, right? So the
reward is not there.
Yeah, the trade-off of actually owning the business is, sure, you deal with all the things that you're talking about, which I do think is true. I think the cost of like leadership, if you're doing it correctly, is that you do have to always be on and you're responsible for other people and you owe an amount of time and effort that if you were in a more standard position, you wouldn't have to put in. But you don't even get and then you get the ownership of the thing and presumably the financial reward and the flexibility and being your own boss that comes out of that, right? But as soon as you're a gig worker, you actually have none of the upside, the actual upside and the reason to put that time in. But you only serve to be like exploited with the false promise of what it means to be your own business.
It sounds like you just read the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, Aiden. Yeah, I agree. The proletariat really should have the means of production.
Oh, this little thing. If you want to check out the book club episode, we just read this.
We are hours off of Aiden finishing the Communist Manifesto, by the way. I don't know, Adrian, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually think I've said this on stream, which is that when people complain about YouTuber consecration, it is because, like you said, they can't turn their brain off. You can't check out at the end of the day and there's always something you could be doing. And that is essentially what every entrepreneurial job is. And in fact, I think I've said this, I think consecration is probably the easiest version of that because you have a very defined set of rules that the platform handles for you. Mm-hmm. I have to just do this thing, but it still fills up all your time and your mental thought. But if you're running a business, you might have to do permits from the city, your HR and payroll, all this extra stuff that's like much more annoying, that's like more managed with YouTube. But so I do think making everyone into having to deal with that as their regular course of doing business it's almost dystopian. I mean, it's crazy. That's not a normal outcome.
I don't think the average person wants it.
They don't want it. They would like to find, even, my own employees, dude. I learned this from working with people. There's some people that would really like a high percentage based pay and they want to just grind. They want to hustle and put a ton of, some people would like a structure. They want stability. They want a set amount. They want time and effort and hours that are set to what they want to give to this. And they want to not think about it outside of that. That's just some people's preferences. And so I think the major takeaway is like, if you're someone who's like, oh man, I'm watching Kai Cenat or something, that's something I want to do. And you're not a person that would like to do that stuff outside, you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to hate the job. It's not going to be fun for you. That is I think the takeaway you can take. Even it was funny. We were at your housewarming. I'm not even going to say the name. Someone who works for one of those type streamers, one of those big IRL young live streaming people. And from the outside, it looks like that person is, winging it, like having fun. There's a camera on. But the person on their team was like, yeah, after 9 hours of live streaming, then we have like a 2-hour review call, and we're like planning that, like, and that person's leading the call, like that. And this is a young person, like this person's grinding. They're grinding to get that level.
You're saying this is like an IRL streamer who goes live for 9 hours,
very,
then
very
meetings
famous.
afterwards. Okay.
Yes,
I mentioned this. Yeah, on Mixed Signal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she left my house at 9 p.m. for the meeting.
Yeah, it was like on a Saturday. What a surprise!
It was a Friday night.
Yeah,
She left at 9 p.m. after working all day to go do another meeting because that's just when it has to happen.
Because they just finished a stream. Yeah. That's crazy. And then, oh man, I say something because what were we talking about?
Don't cut this out.
No,
don't cut this out.
So perfect.
Leave this in the podcast.
Oh, and this is the brain rot that comes from
talk. It's been 5 seconds of nothing. This is awkward.
Oh,
the
no.
audience is leaving.
We're going to, it's 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10.
I think I wanted to move on to after a year of doing this show, if you guys have any big shifts in what you think or believe about the world, because this is, I think, just the speed at which I formed opinions this year and changed opinions was probably the fastest, because there was an intentionality to reading and consuming stuff all the time. So we had stuff to talk about on this show and a little bit outside of it. So I wanted you guys to speak to that.
I went from not like disagreeing with Nick Fuentes to disagreeing with him. Like about hating women.
Because you think he doesn't go far enough. You're always like, yeah.
Well, I'm more.
So that's the old Doug.
You think he's a rhino.
I'm more. Yeah.
Calling Nick Fuentes a rhino is so funny.
I more. The joke was that I didn't know what Nick Fuentes thought, and now that I've looked at what he thinks, I strongly disagree with it. But yeah, that too. What about you? That's it. That's the only change.
That's your only change.
No, I got a bunch, but I don't want to. TED talk this. What's yours?
Oh,
what are some of yours? We can go around the horn.
There was one that I talked to you about after we recorded one day recently, and it's about the idea. I don't want to do a huge AI thing. I'm sure you have plenty of AI things to say too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But there's one belief that strengthened and one that weakened. At the beginning of the year, I would have told you that I think AI is like a financial bubble and it's going to pop, whatever. That view over the year has strengthened. However, on the flip side, I have become not like just middling to 100% concrete that it is going to change the world very, very profoundly, and that it is an extremely, extremely impactful. Like I mentioned this to you in the way, there's people in my community who, when I talk about AI being a financial bubble, are like, yeah, and then it's going to blow up and then it's going to be gone. And I have to be so direct that that's not going to happen. Like it is, once you see even one thing, and I've seen a couple now, that it can do fantastically, that it's just 100x improvement over previous things. Once you see that, once you realize, it's like, oh, this is like when I first saw the internet. Or this is like a big thing. This is going to
give an example.
Yeah, what are the ones that like stuck
The
out
big
to you?
example that I've talked about recently is that I used to sit next to the finance department at Twitch, and I would play Melee with these guys every day. We would talk, and they would complain about their job and things they're working on. And I saw an example of a finance professional using AI to take a massive amount of data, financial data, and organize it for new regulations that were coming out. So and it would ask him the right questions and things you need to change. And I have seen someone do that for like when GDPR, which is a financial thing from Europe, rolled out and everyone had to do it. I talk with them every day as they're working on it. This is such a painful process for them that takes weeks and complaining, and it has a lot of human error too, honestly. They mess up on it, and I saw this thing step by step go through it, and the financial professional checking it. It was crazy. I mean, that is such a 100, maybe 1,000x leap over how simple it was. That would have taken a team of people a long time. This is like, that's like if you were someone who's a coal miner and saw the first steam engine. Like it's a big deal. That is a big deal.
Or somebody delivering letters physically via horse, and then the internet appears, or Morse code or something.
And there's many things I hate about AI, which is like what I think it's doing to education. I think it's amazing for education, but it's being used horribly. So I think there's a lot of complex thoughts on it. But once I see and I see more of these examples as time goes on, and it's like nobody who's done it that way is going to go back. They're just not gonna. They'll refine this system. They'll add extra people to check it if there has problems, but they're not going to go back to the old way. It just will not happen. And I probably wouldn't have said this at the end of last year. And now I will 100% say it, that that's a big thing I've changed.
And you like crypto now too, right?
No, you haven't got me on crypto, not even a little bit.
You did 180 on crypto.
If anything, I hate crypto more than I did. Imagine a PDF like this basketball. Right now I have it, and you can't do anything with it. But with Adobe Acrobat Spaces, we can share this digitally.
Closed the thing I had set up. Please tell me. Oh my God, you exited Chrome. I need
Oopsies.
5 minutes. Jesus Christ. Recently, I've been getting a whole lot of business notifications and PDFs from the California Franchise Tax Board telling me about different taxes that I owe. I don't really know tax stuff. And with Adobe Acrobat Studio, This is awesome. You can go in with the new AI assistant and say, hey, summarize this document for me, please. What was a 10-page esoteric thing now becomes easily summarized, and check this out. With quotations, it shows you exactly where every single thing is. And if it's like, oh, here's the information to pay, you need to do full balance here, clicks right to the section with a quotation. That's so sick. Not only that, you can then go into it and put it into edit mode, and you can change all of this. It's not actually sent to fake company Inc., Aiden's home address, Sweden, Earth, 676767. I just edited
That's
the PDF
funny.
directly. If you want this level of detail and control over PDFs, of editing, of AI assistants, it's awesome. You should check out adobe.com/do that with Acrobat.
Well, one
Because of
thing,
the
maybe one
Trump
thing
family stuff.
that you changed on, and it can't. But what's one thing that you feel like you have enhanced conviction for, and it can't be crypto?
Well, that was the first part of that, was that I feel very strong.
Well, another thing you changed on is you were very critical of Lena Khan now.
Well, we pressed her in that interview.
According
to the New York Times. We pressed her.
According to the New York Times, major change from Atrioc. Per Atrioc, even.
Atrioc. Yo, Gavin, did you see Gavin Newsom? He did a year in review podcast. And he was like, here's all the people we debated this year. First of all, I don't think we debated. And he's like, a lot of them were controversial. We had Charlie Kirk, we had Steve Bannon, we had Atrioc. That was his big three. He interviewed like fucking 50 people this year.
Oh my god!
I was
so awesome.
That was wild. But what I've solidified on, I don't know. Most things, honestly, I feel like I've solidified on. That's not the hard part. The hard part is the things that you changed. I don't know. Is there anything about you? What's something you changed or solidified on?
Change is, I think I came to terms with this idea of broader trends or forces dictating long-term outcomes in ways that like the solutions that we talk about don't actually change. I think the main time this came up was when we were talking about how national debts affect countries, and using Greece as this example, this historical example.
Sure.
And this idea of how different policies and political ideologies had occupied the Greek establishment throughout that time period in the 1900s, and how while short-term outcomes for people did change based on those policies, like quality of life might have improved for people based on like a social welfare policy that got introduced or something like that, right? At the end of the day, nobody addressed the undercurrent of how the government was funding itself.
Yeah.
And they spiraled into a scenario where eventually they had to come to terms with that. And I think that my brain has just been opened up to the idea that a lot of solutions feel so simple, especially when you're younger. And when I was younger, of like, why don't we just do this? Why can't we just do this? This thing will fix this thing. And it doesn't work that way a lot of the time. Like, there is some undercurrent of more complex issues that are very difficult to address that you need to deconstruct somehow, and that needs to be addressed as well. And taking that framework to a bunch of different things that we look at in society. I feel like that was like an eye-opening moment for me in the earlier part of the year.
So you did shrooms for the first time.
And to some people, I feel like I'm saying something that's super obvious, right? Like, of course that's the case. But I think you want, I think an optimistic view and maybe a naive one is looking at things in very simple terms and being like, why don't we just pass this little policy and it'll fix this issue? But I think wrapping my head around issues this year and realizing like how many stakeholders and decision makers and how like one positive outcome for somebody else like so easily affects somebody else in a negative way. The idea that the people in power can just make really simple decisions and make everything better is not really true.
They can't crank the dial on their desk for lower inflation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do feel that way, and I used to feel that way too.
Have you ever had the experience where Because like there's so many companies that are run so fucking bad, like video game like EA is awful, right?
Yeah.
And then you go work at EA in my case, and you're like, oh, it's a miracle that anything functions at all.
Yeah,
or you
That's
go work
most
at,
things, bro.
It's
I feel
most.
like
It's like, that's the thing.
most human groups, it's like held together by fucking duct tape and string, and like
I think
wait,
it's a young, I think, idealistic view of like, why don't they just do the things that'll fix the problems? And then when you work in enough companies, you're like, oh, this is barely.
Yeah, everyone is like a plane being rebuilt in mid-flight. Yeah. I have this example. People have mentioned this with me, and I use an example. When I first started at Twitch, you know, I'm a young guy. I'm like 21. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. This is the website I watch every day. This is going to change the world. And I get there, and my first jobs is handling the front page of Twitch, what streams are showing. And they're like, yeah, so this whole thing is run out of a Google Calendar. They hooked up the fucking code to the back end of a Google Calendar. And then you open it up, and it's a Google Calendar with 100,000 entries covering every square inch of space. And you have to write a Google Calendar entry in the certain syntax that it can pull from the. So I have to write like lyric 4 p.m. to 4:15 p.m. 6:17 priority 6:7. I'm brain rotted. Yeah, and that's how it works. It still works like that today, from what I heard from people inside. That's crazy. This is like it cut for $1 billion. The website runs on a fucking Google Calendar backend. Yeah, and then everyone's kind of making things up. Like so many people that are supposed experts, a lot of them just got lucky in something, and then they extrapolate that to so many other fields. Like I remember, I shouldn't say the name, but there was a guy who had done something really big at Riot, and he'd really succeeded. But largely it's because he hit right place, right time. League of Legends took off, and Riot was big.
Yeah.
But I was like, this guy's a fucking legend, and he was starting up a new startup, and I almost left NVIDIA for it. And he was selling on a phone call. He's like selling me. He's like, this is, and I just like was believing this guy's got it all figured out. He sees the future, how everything's gonna go. And then I ended up not doing it, like a very last second decision. And of course, it was a disaster. It was a mess. But the way is reality distortion field. But I've seen that with a lot of people where they just, it's a lot of it's confidence over. I don't know. That's something I've learned over my life.
I think
you gotta be careful with.
There is an unfortunate juxtaposition of you have to be confident enough to push ideas forward to make anything incredible or interesting or successful.
Yeah.
But if you're cognizant of this idea that you just don't know everything and you can't be wrong, there's always more information and there's always more consequences.
You'll freeze.
You
yeah,
freeze.
I see what you're saying.
I feel more frozen this year than I ever have before. I'm very aware. I feel like I'm very aware of the fact that I'm just fucking wrong about a bunch of shit.
Right.
I am. And I'm going to be changing and updating the way I feel about things for the rest of my life because I want to try to understand things better. But I also,
what you can do is you can just check the comments. They're always right.
Yeah, that is true.
Like if you
that
like,
is true.
I don't know when I think about something. They'll
You synthesize all the
Dive
comments.
in.
That's the truth.
Yeah. You got to read them all.
Me copy pasting all of our comments into an AI chatbot. It's like, turn this into a guy.
It kills itself. The AI truly is dead.
No. That's what the big A comments would do.
The big A comments are not bad, bro. They just one person called you fucking bald or something.
Hate that guy. Hate that guy.
You can't get over it, dude.
And fearing that sense of being frozen is going to impede me from making some sort of progress in my life.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You're always talking about how you need fat stacks.
Why don't you grift? Just start grifting, dude.
Just
Say
grift,
confidently.
It would be so awesome. It'd be so awesome to grift. It'd be so easy.
What about you, Doug? What you changed your mind on this year?
I got a couple things, but it's interesting transition point that you said, which is the feeling of feeling less confident. I super feel that. Like, I feel less qualified to say anything on this show, which I think we've talked about over time. It's like, so I've thought about my own political opinion transition, and I forget if I've mentioned this to you guys off the pod, but I would say that 2024 kind of radicalized me a little bit, not necessarily to the right, but against Democrats specifically. And I did go into the beginning of this year really, really disliking Democrats, which is, I think, the source of some of those critical comments.
Everybody. That's by the polling, everybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah, that's not a completely out there thing to happen,
Here's the difference. It's me being Democrats are fucking terrible, and maybe the Republicans will do better. Like the standard is so low. So I did not vote for Trump, but the the context for this is that I have for a decade now been following closely leaders in tech. I have been looking at their interviews and their thing. I was listening in 2016 and 17 to Tim Ferriss, who interviewed Mark Andreessen and all these different tech folks, CEO of Dropbox, CEO of Instagram, Ben Horowitz, read Peter Thiel, 0 to 1, read all these things about how to make a business and how to think about technology and entrepreneurship, which I think are all incredibly inspiring. Mark Andreessen is a wild, weird dude, but is really fascinating the way he thinks about the world. So for whatever it is, 8 years was following this. And then I started listening to the All In podcast like 3 years ago, which my friend recommended to me. And that is what really kicked off my interest in business and technology. Because those guys, 4 VCs who are like ultra rich, but they're talking about these things with a level of knowledge of business that you just didn't hear anywhere else. And they just kind of didn't give a fuck either. They were like, we're so hot and rich, we're going to say what we feel like. And for the first several years of that show,
David Sachs is your guy. That's your poster over the bed.
Look,
Smoking hot.
I don't know if hot and rich, if the word rich is big enough, the word hot
gets drowned out.
Feeds in, okay?
Okay,
it's trickled down economics.
Economics, that's what it's all about.
And so I started to listen to those guys constantly, and roughly it was mostly focused on business and tech, and I found it phenomenally interesting, and that really spurred my interest in following this and wanting to understand AI and understand what's going on with the business world. And they occasionally touched on politics. And of that group, there was distinctly somebody who's on the left, Jason Calacanis, somebody who's distinctly on the right, David Sachs, and then 2 guys who are distinctly moderate, which is Chamath Palihapitiya and David Freeberg. And then 2024 happened. All these people in tech, all of them shifted way to the right. And I'm sure all of you see this. Yeah. Sam Altman says openly he's going to donate $1 million to Trump. Yeah. Like a year or 2 prior, these same companies are all Democratic and talking about how they think Trump's an absolute disaster and they would never vote for him, right?
Altman was like, lock him up.
Ben Horowitz and Mark Andreessen do a podcast saying how the Kamala Harris administration is going to be so unbelievably hostile to AI that they have to, at a moral obligation to humanity, endorse Donald Trump because it is so clear how disastrous their policies are. And to be clear, I actually agree with the sentiment that supposedly Kamala's team that they talked to in person was bad. It sounded like they wanted to use AI to like crack down on free speech and stuff. So taking that at its word, pretty scary. Every tech person starts shifting sharply to the right over 2024. The All In podcast, my weekly source of like news and information about how to think of the world, basically became a political show. By the mid of 2024, they were running fundraisers for Donald Trump. And once the election happened, they are visiting the White House regularly, doing interviews from the White House regularly. And David Sachs is now a key member of the Trump administration who is personally dictating AI policy. And so for me, I wouldn't say my heroes, but the people who largely influenced how I thought about the world and developed my business sense and my acumen and my worldview, and specifically how I went to for news and tech updates, all started telling me every day on Twitter, on podcasts all over the place, Biden is going to destroy the economy, destroy technology, ruin the future that we have in mind, and Trump is the only hope. And while I like to believe that did not influence me, I definitely went into this year being like, I don't want to say glad Trump won, but like if these guys are right, this could be good. Yeah. And that was sincerely where I was at the beginning of this year. And then it's been quite interesting to see as I've learned all of this stuff and just seen the Trump administration be a complete fucking disaster. And then most of those same tech people are no longer vocally supporting Trump, right?
Yeah,
they all just kind of are now, Elon Musk, right? Who's endlessly talking about how it's like humanity is at stake, fucking hates Trump now and calls him a pedophile publicly, right? Yeah. And it's like, it was very interesting to come into this year, at the beginning of this year, thinking like, I kind of understand how incredibly destructive the Democratic policies are. And while I would still consider myself a left-leaning person, I'm not afraid to voice some of those criticism on this show. Sure. And then I did kind of, and people got upset kind of in, a myriad of ways, but less about comments and more just as we've for the first time in my life, I learned things that aren't Twitter and a podcast. And we actually dove into stuff every week. And I'm spending 5 hours every week really understanding the fundamentals. I think my view has shifted substantially away from this is what tech people are telling me to think, or this is what the politicians are telling me to think, to just, I feel like I'm still uninformed, like you said. I still don't know stuff. I have less confidence than ever to say things, even though it's ironic because I do know a lot more. But now I feel like I'm kind of in my own individual source of knowledge, and I can view things with a degree of, I don't know, actual knowledge and not just being fear-mongered by a bunch of people online.
Have you seen that graph? It's like is it Dunning-Kruger? What's the graph? I don't know.
Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, it's like when you have no knowledge, you feel super confident, but the more you learn, the less confident you get because it's like it's so complicated.
Dude, it's worrying to me how confident I came into this year. That actually, end of sentence. It is worrying to me because in retrospect, you know why I was so confident? It's because I listened to All In every week and I read a lot of Twitter.
Confident.
Yeah, they were so confident. That's what led me to believe I was actually qualified to talk about politics on this show as much as I joked about. And genuinely, with 100% sincerity, I now believe I am not qualified. I believe that these things are so deep and complex, and I still love trying to understand things, but I don't listen to that podcast anymore. I don't go on Twitter almost at all. I read lots of articles and try to deeply understand the systems behind these things and then make conclusions, and I just feel much more like thoughtful, and it was very interesting to see every hero do this weird massive right pivot. For me internally to be like, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not on board with you guys, but the truth's probably somewhere in the middle. And then to feel like everybody's a fucking idiot is kind of where I'm at now.
Dude, I'm not probably the same way, but definitely with some finance professionals I read who were like telling me openly that Trump was going to be the guy, that he was going to fix the national debt, that he was like, I would read these things or listen to their podcast and I'd be like, I really respect this guy when he's talking. He said some smart things in the past. And so I'm going to keep my mind open. I don't think I was as, but
and I should say Trump got elected and I was like, I'm going to keep my mind open because while I disagree with so many things about it, on the economy specifically, on the handling of technology and on the debt, those are the two things that in theory, everybody was saying, this is why we just saved the nation. And those two things have utterly
disaster,
failed.
Completely disastrous.
Right. And so the part of me, I was not elated in any way that Trump won, but I was like, well, I've been told by dozens of people I respect for a year that there's these incredible outcomes that are going to happen. Those didn't fucking happen. Like, not at all.
Yeah, people lie. They just lie all the. I mean, I don't even know if they're lying. They're like,
no, that's something I think about a lot. Is whether or not people are so quick to saying like he lied or they're lying to you. But I think a lot of the time, certain people have absolute conviction for what they're saying.
Yeah, and
lying, at least to me, lying means you're intentionally, you knowingly are not telling the truth.
It's like a lie by lie by confidence. It's a lie. You know what I'm saying? It's a lie of like, you don't know and you don't know, but you're projecting a sense of confidence that make everyone else feel like you know. Something about that.
It's a little weird. I really like, I'm really not going to trust like random, I don't know. I have so much more of a sense of like, I am not going to form a strong opinion unless I've really taken time. And otherwise, I'm going to talk about this with my friends. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but
absolutely. I think this is this is an experience that a bunch of people go through and are going through. I think that to me is kind of the intention of the show. It's like, we're three guys who don't know everything. The fun of the show is us figuring stuff out and learning about things that we think are interesting and then talking to each other about them. And we're not experts, and that's most people's experience as they navigate these things and they navigate life.
Wait, but are you like me where you went into the year being like, I do kind of know some stuff. I'm kind of smart. I had like 50% confidence and now it's at like 5.
I feel less that way. I think maybe if I were to use your percentage analogy, I felt like I had like 25 and now I'm down to like 15 or 10.
Damn, really?
Yeah. I do feel like
we gotta build up your confidence. We need to build up your confidence.
No.
I think it's the yard. They've been chipping you down. Let's start next year at 100. Let's start you at 100 next year.
Let's do the year of kindness for Aiden.
Yeah.
Don't even joke. Don't make a sick joke like that. Like you mean it.
Because we're not going to do
That
it.
you're not.
We both call in sick that morning. It's Aiden by himself.
First show of the year, we don't even show up. What else have we changed our minds on? I'm sure there's a lot, but I'm struggling to think of like a broad big point.
Okay, I'll throw a couple out there. We don't need to hear my thoughts on. I'm curious if you guys have changed at all. One, again, this is, I would say that I felt quite knowledgeable about tech going into this year, and I now feel more knowledgeable, but about other fields. But some of the other fields that I feel like I've learned. One, I now strongly feel that we should raise tax rates a lot. It's not just reading Price of Peace or talking to Lena Khan or whatever. It's a lot of things that just over and over feel like they reinforce that. The importance, unironically, the fucking Communist Manifesto here a little bit.
Dude, who knew? It's got some stuff in there.
I wouldn't go that far. It's not good.
What? No, I think. Look, I don't agree with this, but there was a couple things in here where it's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Like, and then there was a couple things that's like, I feel like you're trying to. I'll save it for the book club.
Save it for the book club.
But this guy's built. It feels like there's a bit of a mental framework that they're like the whole world needs to fit into this framework. And anyway, we'll save it for the book club.
Dude, I don't want to say it.
Okay, I think you guys were already on board for higher taxes. I think I started the year being like, I see the argument for that, but all the people in my life, and like all the tech people are saying it's bad. You're saying you shouldn't tax, and now I'm solidly in like, I think we need higher taxes. Curious if that changed for you guys. I'm way more upset at boomers. I think boomers are like a wildly.
You have radicalized on boomers.
I've radicalized on boomers a lot.
I saw you, and there's an old guy in the parking lot, and you were kind of like, you made him flinch.
Well, I made him flinch, and I was like, wait, how old are you? And he's like, I'm only 57. I'm like, okay,
you just made the cutoff.
You're safe.
You're clean. Gen X.
Old Gen X.
Like I said, I think I tried to go in with an open mind on the Republican administration. I think they've been a complete fucking failure. And then there's a bunch on AI that, there's been more bad and more good, but that's a bigger one. Did anything? Oh, monopolies and acquisitions too. Same thing. I feel like we would really benefit from a fuckload more regulation against all the acquisitions and monopolies. I've gotten increasingly concerned about that. I'm curious. I think both of you and most of our audience already felt in that camp, but I think I now am in your camp, not because I was reading a bunch of Twitter or watched a stream or a video essay about it. It's because of books and dozens of hours of research where I'm like, yeah, this is genuinely what I think is valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's almost like the opposite. Those are things that those are like core to me that I've said for a while. But like the things I've picked up from this show and honestly from you are more of being, not every idea that you've brought from that world that you were in is we should discard. Like there's some interesting things from that I have. Like I started reading more of the Free Press. I started reading, but like, who's the fucking guy?
I need more information.
Who's the guy?
Ben Horowitz. I'm sorry, Ben Horowitz. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah,
how did I not pick up on the clues there?
I snapped at you. You didn't say it. So I don't know. I think I've picked up that. And again, the more pro AI stance of just its possibilities. Those are the things I've picked up that I didn't have going into the year. You mentioned Price of Peace. Price of Peace is a big thing for me as part of the show. That one opened me up to ideas on government spending that I was like really militant against, that I see the benefit of. But I still am like a fucking
dude. It's so funny that might be my number one recommendation out of the year.
That book?
Yeah, is that one?
I thought it was Beast. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
So Price of Peace, or
I think it's for what people to read, or like if I could give one action item for people out of the podcast, I'm like, dude, just read this book, and I think it'll give you, at the very least, it'll give you a lot to think about.
I feel that about abundance. I feel way more about abundance, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I liked abundance a lot too. I think abundance has become a curse on my life, though.
I'm having dreams about that. We did a live show with Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson, and they came on stage and everybody started booing. This is not a joke.
Honestly,
I'm dreaming about them hating us for our association with Ezra Klein.
Yeah,
I can't. I listened to your crash out the other day. My abundance crash out is I hate how the public discourse around the book has turned me into a defender of the book, because I did like a bunch of it, but then I have a bunch of criticisms of the book that I read. of the book that I read.
Well,
Yeah.
and
hold
the
on,
problem
let's talk
is,
about my imagination of what the
and
book
the
is.
problem is I'm fist fighting these ghosts of what people think the book is about. And it's like if you're talking about the movement or the corporate money behind it or whatever, like the co-opted movement around it. But I'm like, if you read this paragraph in the book, there's nothing controversial about it. It's the Halal Mamdani thing where he's like, guys, the permit system is fucked up and everybody has to pay for this exploited system. What if we fix that so people don't have to pay a giant fee for a permit that should be $50? That's what the book's about. That's what I feel like it. I feel dumb because I feel like I'm constantly on the back foot of defending this book and these authors that I'm not even that big of a fan. Like, I'm not a particularly big fan of Ezra Klein, but I'm like defending against this thing that I'm like, the book just didn't say that.
Yeah. Once you've read the book, it's kind of tough to pile on when you're like, it's not that controversial. Like the things in the book would be, most people, if you split them out, would agree with them.
I think
the word abundance has become insane though. I hate because people use it in so many fucking ways. Elon Musk is talking about abundance every fucking week, and he's like entirely different vision than what Ezra Klein has, than what other people have, than what some corporate fucking lawyer on the Democrat DNC says. They just say the word abundance, and it's like this paper over of. It doesn't mean anything. I think this fucking Communist Manifesto has abundance in it at one point.
I think my new thing is anytime I want to talk about like a point from abundance, I'm just gonna say it's from Breakneck instead because it's almost the same fucking book.
I'll just say it's from
true.
fucking Bernie Sanders. Everyone's like, honestly, they'll go for it. It doesn't. Anyway, I've got that crash out 50 times. So it doesn't matter to me.
Support for this show comes from Rocket Money.
Little follow up for Aiden here. I found an actual conversation between me and Aiden from 2024. Two things. Number one, been watching a ton of your videos lately, like even more than normal.
Well, not Twitch though, right?
Great stuff. Number two, hey, do you actually heavy wreck Rocket Money? I've been skeptical, LOL, but I have a lot of monthly payments and it sounds very convenient. Does it still work if those monthly payments are spread across multiple things?
I would also like to know that.
And I said, I used this actual message in an ad read just recorded, now twice. Yeah, I F with it heavy. I used it back before I even sponsored me when it was called Truebill, but I have lots of subscriptions and it helps me keep track /cancel. I legit have 20 to 25 new sub that I cycle through with the prices on.
And that's why you should never waste your hard-earned cash on an Atrioc Twitch sub. Never pay for Atrioc Twitch subs again.
I watch more of your content than usual. And you can't give me $5.
Try Rocket Money for free at rocketmoney.com/lemonade.
The one takeaway from abundance that really felt different to me, again, coming from 2 straight years of every tech person I had followed saying how the government is a total fucking disaster, and if Biden and Kamala are able to maintain control, then the government is going to have even more of a stranglehold, and it's too inefficient, and business can't operate and run. And I think there is some truth to that, but and then abundance points out a number of examples, which is like, we tried to make a wind farm in Wisconsin or whatever it is. It's been 17 years and nothing's been built. Here's the train in California we've tried to build. It's been, 17 years and nothing's been built. The regulation and all this stuff. Like,
they got a tiny stretch of track.
Yeah.
You can't ride it, but.
Yeah, you can't ride it, but you have a tiny bit of track. And that was like the kind of standard, like, yeah, government sucks at doing things. But what I think abundance did very well is then
breakneck.
Or breakneck.
They show the government can do things. It's like there's a different problem there.
Right.
It's funny because both books use China as an example of like, look, China.
They're building shit
look how
all
they
the
build all
time.
this
They're
stuff.
Yeah. And I think what shifted for me was I had been presented the argument in either a very black or white way. The government should do more, or the government is too inefficient and too over-regulatory and we should strip it down as much as possible. Get Elon Musk in there and tear it all down. But I think what abundance does well is say, look, we've actually stopped the government from being effective through these different tools and regulations and lawsuits. So there's opportunity there. And then there's a long history of the government being really effective at making projects that had a huge difference. Or importantly to me, invention, where the government funded the fundamental research, which is what companies then used to market and bring these things to a wider audience. So I think there's a fantasy from the tech folks that still exists right now, which is you should let private industry do it all. And I think it's a very appealing thing for entrepreneurs and people who get tired with government excess.
And that's also what people who hate abundance but haven't read it say the book says.
Yes.
And it's like half of the book.
Right. The
book's
second
about what Doug's
half
saying.
of the book is how effective the government has been historically and how that's actually being stripped away now because of RFK Jr. pulling research from all this stuff. And so I thought that was very interesting of it being a really compelling case that even in the case of like pushing the bounds, the government is incredibly valuable and should play a part. And you shouldn't view the government as the smaller, the better with no exceptions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great takeaway from the year. I think that it speaks to the point of there just being nuance to these like big black and white ideas that I think are often carrying.
There's nuance to Nick Fuentes' ideas. He wants
no, that can't even joke. Made me laugh, but we can't even. It's so funny because he's like one guy where it's like I think it's just so.
He's
dropped the nuance. He's dropped the nuance, and he really
has dropped the nuance.
He's just saying the worst thing. It's so funny. It's so funny because it's like. You can. He's the most concrete example of you can open it up. You open up the stream, you hear the worst thing you've ever heard in your entire life. Like, and he's just saying it. You're just
I mean, that works for him though. That's the society. I don't know that attention at all costs. We shouldn't get into Nick Fuentes, but like
I don't need to rehash.
That's how it.
Why he's shitty.
We went on a deep dive on a Patreon episode.
Did
When
you?
you were
Yeah, we
gone,
did.
Aiden
We
and
did
I,
the-
we went deep.
Was it
into
after
Nick
the Piers Morgan thing or no?
No, it was before.
Oh,
The
okay.
Piers Morgan thing was wild. Anyway,
Yeah.
I wanted to. This is a big idea. I wanted to know if you guys had any thoughts. This is one thought I came around to this year of I think a young Seattleite college student such as myself, has come up in the ideas of like the evils of capitalism, if you will. Obviously, that lacks a bit of nuance.
Hold on. Hold this book while you're saying
Yeah, hold on. So, and I just want to. So, I think with that kind of background, you come into things with a certain mental framework or certain like ideas that just sit in the back of your mind that shape how you perceive things. And this year, we talked a lot about wealth inequality and how that's like a really driving force in what is making things shitty for everybody right now. And I came to the realization this year, I think you're sold as maybe a younger left-leaning person or outright like socialists, or if you call yourself a communist, that capitalism is like this driving force behind wealth inequality in society. And it is inevitable that capitalism forces us towards this outcome. And I think this year, because of a little more historical concepts we dove into, and this idea of money is kind of like a representation or an exercise of power, right? Money allows you to like accomplish something. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
and,
dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I started to think about how power, like inequality of power, congregates in a bunch of different places and scenarios.
Oh, pass the mushrooms, by the way.
I'm serious.
No, I'm giving you shit.
I'm serious. And how like wealth inequality through the lens that we view it now with money is not the only way that wealth inequality exists. It exists within like power structures in society. And even if we eliminated if you eliminate money, if you eliminate capitalism, this idea of wealth inequality still forms and exists. And what you're actually trying to do with whatever system of governance that you have, or the way you're trying to like lead society, is combat what wealth inequality within that society. You're trying to, it doesn't have to be, it could be through like social inequality, like maybe through an autocratic government that doesn't actually need money to like enforce a lot of their power and decisions because of the way they've congregated it. You're trying to protect against the consolidation of power, not the consolidation of money. And money is just a vehicle for power in society now. And I thought I feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed.
I think it's great.
But this is one thing I came around to this year is like it's capitalism is not this exclusive scenario where wealth inequality develops. It exists in any structure or society in a bunch of different ways, and letting it consolidate in so few people's hands is bad for everybody else in the long term. I think that lens I didn't come to the realization too.
No, I mean, that's 100% true, right? I mean, of course, there was wealth inequality prior to capitalism. Feudalism had wealth inequality.
Yeah.
If you go back to villages, there was the big man structure where one guy would hoard all the resources and be the chief or whatever. If you go to Soviet Russia, they had an inner circle that had way greater access to wealth and privilege than, there's no, I don't think there's any society actually outside of very, very small groups that doesn't eventually have some, like, that's the great leveler theory, which is that they all trend towards, because people figure out the meta of whatever it is. They figure out the meta of whatever the game is you've created, whether it's capitalism or anything, and then they start optimizing for their resource acquisition, and then eventually it breaks because they get too much. The inequality becomes
you break whatever the game is that you exist within. You start breaking down that, and somebody starts consolidating within that.
Brendan, I'm curious, did your views on, because you've, talked about this and I think probably been the most knowledgeable about the three of us about this particular, the way it manifests. Has your opinion on what should be done about wealth inequality changed at all this year? I mean, we went and interviewed your fucking hero, Lena Khan, who
I would say, I mean, I couldn't speak to myself at the end of last year, but I feel so strongly that it is the stuff we started to do around 1980, which shifted the flow of tax money from rich to poor, from working to rich. Now, instead of going from the rich and the tax money flowed towards subsidies and helping for working class people, it has flipped. And that plus government overspending, those two things, I think, are the core root of the problem that everything else stacks on top of. And so I guess what I would say is something that ties off what you're saying is that I strongly believe there is no solution at all that doesn't require constant human vigilance.
Yes.
There is none. There is no set of rules we're going to create that won't get gamed by humans trying to maximize their gain in the system. And so the only way you can do this is to have human beings that fucking care and can, like for example, there's no way you could write the law that is going to be better than a reasonable human being judge who is acting in good faith, being like, this is the right call here. That is going to be the better outcome in every situation because you can't stop things from getting gamed. So yeah, I think the thing I want most in the world is high progressive taxes. I want high taxes. I want a system that does not distribute it mostly to wealthy boomers. I want to distribute it to people that need it the most. Kind of like post-World War II New Deal America. That's like the thing and a strong antitrust system. I think that's the number one thing. I think, we can go to capitalism, communism, all that. I think there's so many downsides to both systems, but the thing I like about, the one thing I think is the upside of capitalism, the only good part is that very clearly when two entities compete, it drives down costs and drives up innovation for regular people. That is the only good thing. So if we have a system, which I think we have right now, which is the downsides of capitalism, and we don't even get the upsides, we have an ossified, monopoly-based, then there is no point to it. You're not getting any of the good part. You only get it in very few areas, which is like I've mentioned them, which is like YouTube. For a YouTube viewer, you get a million different options that are all competing for your time, and you get a lot of great options. On Steam, you get a ton of different games competing for your dollar. They're driving down prices. You're getting a ton of innovative new games. People like that. People like a competitive environment. TVs, you get a bunch of people trying to compete for your dollar in TVs. TV prices are getting cheaper. You're getting bigger and thinner. Those things are great. But you do not get that in healthcare. You're not getting that. You're not in a lot of areas. You're getting very limited options. You don't get that in fucking youth hockey when you have to go and it's bought up by private equity and they fucking make you film to pay your, like that shit is not. And the only way to stop that is not some massive. I mean, I personally don't think it's like we need to have the government seize every private asset and then regulate it. What I think we need to do is have a strong antitrust system, which we've had in this country, which is informed and knowledgeable and has experts and takes a huge amount of, it has like the weight of the government behind it. It's not like an afterthought where they don't care about it. It's like a very important mission that everyone understands, and they're going to break up monopolies. They're going to make sure no matter what industry it is, if there is a few players, if they're coordinating to raise prices, you are going to get broken up. You're going to get massive fines. We're going to break up your, and if you just do that as your regular course of business all the time, you will end up with a fucking, I think, a really, really healthy competitive economy where someone being rich can be easily outcompeted by someone who's poor. And I think that is awesome. I think that is almost unbeatable. I think if a country does that and another country doesn't, even if this country has better stability regulation, they're going to fall behind. I think it's so productive. It's so incredible the amount of innovation will get off that. So yeah, that's my dream. That's what I want. And I think I've felt that generally, but maybe, over the year, I've gotten more concrete on the actual asks.
Yeah, I think it's very well said. I think you've also convinced me to that. Again, increased taxes and the issues that are coming around increased monopolization are basically new to me. But the more we've done research, the more I feel like, no, this really makes sense. As much as, again, the tech people in my life are all saying how great it is that this company is becoming as big as possible. That seems to be the entire metric for success. The all-in guys literally will bring on anybody. They bring on Travis Kalanick, whatever, the former CEO of Uber.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say Travis Scott, and I was like,
I think you say Travis Kelsey.
Travis, yeah. There's like 3 different Travises that they brought in, and unfortunately, it was this boring Uber CEO. And yeah, to him, they were like, yeah, you were phenomenally successful at Uber. And then you look at what he did, and it was he was technically successful for all these unethical things that he was doing that was just brutal, that he was forced out of the board. And it was a disgrace. But the one single metric that determines that this is a person who is valuable and worth talking to is that
money.
He made a shitload of money and the company became extraordinarily valuable. Acquisitions are good. Mergers are good. This is all good. And I'm just really fallen away from that.
Well, we're rounding out our year. Why don't we talk a little? We'll do one little current news section to send off the year.
You know what my views have changed? Epstein. Not even.
Turns out he's a bad guy.
I came into 2025 thinking that
it was going to be Epstein's year.
I've been following Jeff on Twitter for a decade.
The New York financier, a great friend.
That's what I heard.
And a lot has been revealed.
Yeah, a lot has been actually not enough. That's the real fucking story of today. Is that we got drip fed 1,000 new Epstein documents, but they're like 98% redacted. People are doing like big shows on the house floor or whatever. They're holding up. They wasted a lot of fucking ink for this. Jesus. It's just pages and pages of pure black, they all printed out.
Think about how expensive that is, low key.
I know, it's low key. Where's our government budget going to these printed out?
To the printed redactions.
I thought the whole point of the vote and all of this stuff around it was to not have it be redacted. Is that not?
No, that's not the case.
Wow.
Doug,
in fact,
and Doug, you're such an idiot.
You're dumb for thinking that.
Wow.
So next year you're going to realize how stupid that is.
I know. I can already sense the Dunning-Kruger effect happening. I was so confident about we would
they had
learn
an
something.
emergency redaction section, and they had like a whole team of people moved in to fucking redact these files to get them ready for this release. They dropped only a portion of them, and even this portion is heavily redacted. And the people in these files that are released, it's very obviously who a Trump would want to put the digital. It's like Michael Jackson, Oprah, Bill Clinton. All these. I don't know what Oprah was doing, probably, but it's like there's clearly more to the story, and it's not done. And I think this is like another attempt to be like, well, there you got it. All right, shut up, piggies. Like you. I guess I'm thankful that it doesn't seem to be the response from anyone. Even, I was on Our Conservative this morning, reading their response to this, and it was all like, where's the rest? Like, unredacted. Nobody is going to see 80 fucking pages in a row of pure black and be like, that's good. I got what I needed with the Epstein files.
Solved.
So yeah, it's not a major news item. It's just the beginning, I think, of people getting, honestly, I think it makes them more angry. I don't know. We'll see.
Do you think it loses?
The biggest self-own of Trump to do? It's all insane to not fucking release the files.
It's funny because in the worst case scenario, right? Presumably it'd be a bigger cell phone to leave them unredacted.
In the files, in a super compromising way, then the biggest cell phone was doing that, and that is now going to haunt you no matter what. But I do think he's handled it. I mean, that and the fucking economy, man. The affordability speech, I don't know if you guys saw it. He's like woken up to the fact that it's a big deal, and so he's doing affordability speeches, starting rallies. And
is he doing more? Because my understanding was he did the one rally so far. It didn't really go well.
Well, he did a rally, then he did this big national address.
Yeah.
And I think he's got more planned. I know Vance been on tour doing affordability around the country, and it's just, I don't think it's hitting. I think it's bad. But
people are leaning into the word right now too.
Yeah,
the Democrats really
everyone's
want,
saying affordability.
I think the articles I'm seeing. So there was one article this morning that I wanted to talk about one sec, which was the wrong article. How Democrats used one word to turn the tide against Trump, and it's about affordability. And I was having like shockwaves because of that era where Democrats were like, we started calling him weird, and now we're winning. And I was like, I think we can't. I don't want to get too excited.
No, I don't think it's Democrats' brilliant messaging. I don't think
just Trump being a fucking disaster.
Trump is bad, and people are feeling it. I don't think you could run almost anyone against what he's running right now. I literally think it's so to independents and to people who aren't diehard MAGA, it's so unpopular. It is just an unpopular. It's not what anyone thought it was going to be. It's not the fucking promised land.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, there's some candidates who are doing. I mean, obviously, Mom Donnie ran a great campaign and ran on affordability, but I just think in general, it's not like some brilliant messaging. I hate this because both Democrat and Republican strategists talk about politics like it's all about if you say the right word. It's just about, it's like a puzzle that if you unlock this thing in the right order, and it's never about like changing the conditions of people's lives. It is always about if I massage this in the right way, that will unlock the voters that I need. And I think that's so fucking cynical and so fucking annoying. And a lot of these articles are about that. And Republican strategists are saying that like we need to focus on affordability. We need to use the right messaging for Trump. It's like whether the fuck Trump can keep talking like a buffoon as long as like it worked for him when they thought it was good. It's not his messaging. It's not how he says it. If he can say whatever the fuck he wants, if people feel like their lives are actually getting better and costs are going down, they're going to love him. He can talk shit on Rob Reiner as he's dead as much as he wants if the prices are going down. And I swear to God, people will laugh at it. He's basically like, that's funny. But now, because he's not working, they're like, that's too far. You've crossed the line. I think that's honestly what it is. So I hate the idea that it's messaging, that it's like the right.
Yeah.
And
they just haven't picked the right.
New York Times has that angle a lot of like, it's a tactic.
You wanted to touch on one thing. It was a game studio had recently announced that they're incorporating AI into the game that they're developing to.
Yeah, we'll hit this quick. So there are two beloved game developers who both have come under fire, asterisk from terminally online Twitter people.
Sure.
Because they revealed that they use AI at some part of their development process. So the first are the people who made Claire Expedition 33. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33. And the second is Larian Studios, who made Baldur's Gate 3. So these are like two of the most critically acclaimed and beloved games from like, let's say, mid-sized studios, both of which won Game of the Year the last couple of years. And in interviews, I believe studio head of Baldur's Gate 3, of that studio, which is Sven Vinke, he has said, oh yeah, we use some AI for our development. We use machine learning for, in his quote, tasks that nobody wants to do. They talk about how, like, if it's motion capture cleanup or editing voiceover that's already been recorded or something very specific. That was quotes from him. And then he also mentioned how their concept artists use it to sort of compile different reference images. And this received an enormous amount of flack. He had to then respond on Twitter, and I mean, you can pull this up, Perry, but there's so much pushback. Holy fuck, guys, we're not pushing hard for or replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists, of which 23 are concept artists, and we're hiring more. The art they create is original, and I'm very proud of it. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of generative AI. I answered that we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do that, and they are indeed world-class artists. He goes on to talk about how they use it to explore references in early ideation stages. And then he ends with a line I like, which is, we hired creatives for their talent, not for their ability to do what a machine suggests, but they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. So this has become a sort of discussion on the, let's at least like Twitter sphere of, for folks who are really concerned about AI, and particularly generative AI, and whether it's going to replace human work or devalue human creative work, is any amount of this allowed? The vibe I'm getting is that most people feel that this stuff is fine, even though these are beloved studios. They're like, look, these are tools that are accentuating the human creative process. A concept artist would have gone and spent hours and hours and hours compiling images and pulling them as references for the original art that they then create. This helps speed up that process. Or again, some like technical cleanups of whatever. In theory, that's like, to me, that's like the great stuff that AI will be used for. It's human beings being able to do their creative visions faster. But it's received this a lot of feedback and concern from folks basically saying all the companies you like are actually using AI, and they are going to eventually replace artists. And it's an interesting discussion because this is happening. I've seen a number of folks in the game dev industry reply to this and say, you people are completely naive if you don't think every industry is using AI to speed up small tasks like this. Everyone is doing this. And there's this sort of realization that is spreading to the discontent of many people of, should there be this purity of a form like game development or any kind of art where no amount of machine learning or AI tools are allowed at all?
I think the label just comes with so much baggage right now.
Yeah.
And so many negative realities that are interlocking with this one word that can mean and impact a lot of things. So people are taking the worst idea of what this could mean and then applying it to this out of fear that the other bad things that they see happening associated with AI are happening here as well. It's weird because it's like I understand where the fear comes from, but I also have this frustration that
it's funny because I saw less, or you know what I saw? So when a game like from EA announces something like this, it's easy to hate. But because Larian is so loved and because X-Men 33 is so beloved, it was more people being like, well, there's nuance to this. I saw most AI haters being like, well, the way they use it is different. It's funny. The truth is, I work with a game developer and he's pitching me on new ideas, and all the fucking slides he used was a mock-up with AI. Of course, he's not going to hide, he's making these 10 different ideas, quick mock-ups so he can pitch them. It's going to be used. I don't know if it's especially something behind the scenes and it's 90% cheaper or 90% faster or 90%. It's just that is, it's like there's I don't know if you've ever seen these. A really white pilling thing you can do on this is to go back and read ads that were in the newspaper about the first wave of cars, and it's like people being like, "Your fucking horse is so much better than a car." It's like they're and they would use names. They'd be like, "Old Bessie never let you down." There's like a real ad. It's like a famous, and it's just a similar thing in this. I'm not talking about AGI. If that happens, that's a whole different conversation, and that's a fundamental change of society. If that happens, but as like a thing, this is right now. Right now, what AI is basically just a tool that can do some things faster, some things worse, some things good, some things bad. And there's just no way to put a tool back in the box in the way. It's just not. It's just because what you create then, if you try to really labelize it, like if you made a rule tomorrow where this has to be a humans only label, then all you're really creating, at least in our current system, is an arbitrage opportunity for you to pay someone to human wash it. That's all that's going to happen. Because if there's a premium you can charge on a game that is human only, then I'll make the game with some AI and then I'll pay a human to run it through that so it looks like it's a human game. And I can make it for 10 times cheaper than you, and I'm selling it as a human game. That is the incentive you're creating. That will happen no matter what. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes you have to tell people this is the world. This is what's going to happen. So you have to wake up and be ready for it. And this tool is too good at some things to ignore. And people are going to use it. And if you shame it, then they will find a way to hide it. But it's because it is 90% faster or 20% faster. That's the case. And I would like us to work to build a world where humans see the rewards and benefits of this. But to pretend like it's not there or to finger wag at it and hope it goes away is a huge waste of everyone's time. It's a colossal fuck up on the paths we could take. What are you? I thought you were. What?
This is my conviction that I carried into this year, that I think I carried the whole way through it.
Okay,
that
what is it?
You're only going to play human games?
that I'll only play human games. Human games.
By humans.
By humans, for you.
humans.
This episode's brought to you by
By human games.
by human game. Is that I think the goal of AI and automation should be, the main goal is to supplement human living and stability. So like the underlying thing that this should service is, because AI has to contend with the reality that you're talking about, where it will inevitably be used by a bunch of people, at least as we continue to develop it, I want AI or automation in general that is maybe contributed to by AI to supply the social welfare that is necessary to keep people stable and happy at a time where they will be losing their jobs. Like we talked about with, it's not inherently bad to want to automate the backbreaking work of being in a warehouse 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But the issue with a bunch of people losing those jobs is that their reality, having lost that job, is also very bad. And we should be automating a future where everybody has access to like their base needs. And then I think a lot of people will take less issue with things like this because it's the threat of that instability that I think overhangs all of this thing. What this guy is doing when he tweets is he's exasperated because he's basically saying,
I'm a concept artist. This is my life and career. What we're seeing is a train coming at my industry and I have no plan. Nobody has any plan for what I'm going to do for my livelihood. And so I'm streaming out and I'm trying to build a movie. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, I agree. That 100%. And but I think it comes back to what we've been saying about higher tag. Like the benefits of this automation are going to accrue in fewer and fewer hands. And we have to find a way to take some of the money out of that hands and
to take it back.
There's two things in that I'm going to hard agree with in the book club. That I'm going to hard agree with.
Yeah. And if you want to check that out, you can go to patreon.com/lemonade stand. Our second tier, we have a book club every month. This month it happens to be the Communist Manifesto, but we've read a bunch of different books.
Basically, we're saying if you're kind of in the elite class of the Patreon, then you can participate.
Then you have access to knowledge.
The revolution.
Be part of the bourgeoisie. Read the Communist Manifesto with us.
Seize the knowledge by subscribing to our Patreon.
This has been a great year. Thank you so much.
It was very fun.
Great year.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Wait, do we have anything we want to say about like this year of the podcast? Is there?
I would like to say I appreciate this podcast has reached an audience that is much larger than I ever thought it would be when we talked about starting this show. It's been a privilege to get to work with both of you, and I'm really glad that not only did I like pitch you the idea of doing this, but you spoke up and said you wanted to be a part of it. I think this has been a really fun, good fit. It makes me so happy to meet so many fans of the show throughout the year too.
Yeah, I want to say, thus far, we've been doing the show for about a year, maybe 8 months, 10 months. I have not met a lemonade stand in real life who wasn't really awesome to talk to. And so you could be that person. I want you to come up and be a total asshole to me. So you can break the streak. That's what I would like. I would like to meet the first asshole lemonade stand. No, I love this show. It has exposed me to a lot of interesting books and ideas. Breakneck and Pies of Peace are two things I really, really fucking enjoyed reading this year. They drastically changed my worldview on things. And I love these discussions. I just like doing. I like you guys. This is a fun thing for me to do, and I'm glad it's part of my life. And I'm hopefully. I think both you and I are going through this. I'm trying to reorient our lives so we can have more time to really breathe with this and not feel like it's crushing us. But honestly, you too. You have 6 jobs or whatever. You're doing a lot. So I just looking back, I'm glad we did it, and I'm hopefully you guys can stick with us as we figure out more of how we're going to make it work. But it's fun and cool.
Yeah,
I got nothing to add. It's great. I'm very excited to keep doing this. I'm excited for 2026. I feel more like comfortable in my own skin with this type of show than ever before. So it's great. I'm excited. Just a reminder, we are going to China next year. That's a big thing we're planning in tentatively March. We are working on it, but that was a Patreon goal that we hit, and so we are going to go there and film content there, and hopefully, according to somebody we spoke with recently, maybe be real journalists for the first time.
Real journalists. Yeah, Mixed Signals called this you're doing some real journalism. and I was like, I promise you I'm not.
I can't wait to ask Xi Jinping cut or uncut.
But yeah, I think this new year is going to be very exciting for the show because of projects like that, other guests that we have lined up, and excited to share it with you guys. And if I could give you one thing into the new year, it's just kind of in the vein of this episode, be open to changing your mind and updating how you feel about things. Don't listen to us and take that as the only way to look at things. I think what you were saying, this has been my bridge to learning and exploring a lot of things that I wouldn't have otherwise. It's forcing me to engage with a bunch of ideas that I'm really happy I am. And I hope that's something that people take away in the coming year. It's like when you hear something you're excited about or interesting, or you want to respond, or you feel antagonized by on this show, go read some more about it. Go learn some more about it. I think that's a really good energy for your entire life, to be honest. And I'm trying to take a little bit of that with me into 2026. So we'll see you there.
Thanks, everybody.